as the author. I think this is something that he covered in looking back on my notes. He actually covered Solomon being the one that everybody believes is the author due to, I think, the first verse or two of the very first chapter. With this in mind, that would date the book around the 10th century BC. The overall theme for Ecclesiastes is that life not centered on God is purposeless and meaningless and without satisfaction. We see this in chapter 2, verse 25, where it reads, "For who can eat and who can have enjoyment without him?" On the other hand, we have seen examples throughout the book that with God, all of life and his gifts are to be gratefully received, used, and enjoyed fully. This book almost reads as several journal erupts the heart. The end of a matter is better than its beginning. Patience of spirit is better than haughtiness of spirit. Do not be eager in your heart. Do not be angry, for anger resides in the bosom of fools. Do not say, why is that the former days were better than these? For it is not from wisdom that you ask about this. Wisdom along with an inheritance is good, and an advantage to those who see the sun. For wisdom is protection, just as money is protection. But the advantage of knowledge is that wisdom preserves the lives of its possessors. Consider the work of God, for who he is able to straighten what he has bent. In the day of prosperity be happy, but in the day of adversity consider God has made the one as well as the other. So saying here, your integrity, your personal name, your character, your reputation are far more important than our outwardly appearances. This is something for myself that was instilled in me as a child. Growing up, that what we have on the inside is what we have, is what we control, is what nobody else has control of. It's what truly matters. Everything on the outside is not our goal for others to see that. They need to see what kind of person we are on the inside. Going into my job career, taking that into my job, I spent roughly 14 years in law enforcement prior to what I'm doing now. For anything from start off with county, went state, spent a little bit of time, 6 years doing contract work with Homeland Security, and then went to the federal side of things before getting out. From day one, I don't see Brian Tchaikovsky in here. Brian Tchaikovsky, if y'all don't know, is that if they had their way, they would rather be out of this life and into eternity. They would rather be with God among humanity, to go beyond this life and go home to glory and join the presence of the Lord. It reminds me also of the last thing that my granddad said while he was laying in the hospital before he passed away, and that was, "This world is not my home." He realized where he was going, and he realized what he had seen and done on this earth, and he had done his time, he had done his good deeds, and he was ready to go. And I believe that was actually the last words he said that he spoke to us. So in this sense, the joyous days following our death are better than the days following our birth. Now, the next verse may make you think the writer's going through some serious depression, but as you read it, it is better to go to a house of mourning than to go to a house of feasting. That's not the case at all, though. Remember, wisdom. How many times have we spent fuming at a red light knowing that all red lights eventually turn green? I did that on the way here. The preacher's point goes deeper than temporary hassles or minor irritations when he mentions haughtiness. From a patient spirit is a ground well of wisdom is able to emerge. One of our goals during this time on earth is a development of inner character, which involves the placement of a proud spirit with that of a patient spirit. As it happens, wisdom then has a platform to work. When our spirit is haughty, it pushes wisdom to the side, and we play the fool, which leads us to the next verse. That do not be eager in your heart to be angry, for anger resides in fools. Or we're moving along, let's go ahead and move to his next words of counsel that we often study. The preacher begins verse 15, stating that he has seen it all and that has given him the value of living in God's wisdom. Through the rest of the chapter, we see that living in his wisdom gives us balance, strength, and insight. We can conclude by asking ourselves questions in regards to these three things. Has living in God's wisdom given us balance in our lives? Has living in God's wisdom given us strength in our lives? Is living in God's wisdom giving us insight? Is clearing our minds in a world filled with persuasive and appealing voices? Does it give us clarity? All of this reminded me when I was studying for this of a poem that I heard probably in high school by Linda Ellis titled The Dash. I read of a man who stood to speak at a funeral of a friend. He referred to the dates on the tombstone from beginning to the end. He noted that first came the date of birth and spoke of the following date with tears, but said, what mattered over a lot of the officers who've been calling us and talking to us, that's because we have God in our lives, as opposed to the other ones. That job was not our identity. It's not what we dwelled in. Our identity is our Christianity. Our identity is God. And that's what our identity is. It's not our job. It's not what we did. It's not who we were. We're not dwelling on the past like we just talked about. We're not longing for latter days. Our job wasn't being a law enforcement officer. Our job was being a Christian. Simple as that. And that for us that mindset has made our transition back out into the quote unquote normal world a lot easier for us. Anything else? If there's nothing else, thank you for your time. Dr. Moon should be back next week. And that's all I've got. Thank you.
Announcements. Let's start with the Prime Timers Potato Bar on April 26th. Details are in the bulletin. We have a bridal shower coming up for Gracie Dixon, bride elect of Cole Rollins, on April 27th. And then this is my part, so I'm going to take a little bit more time. Senior Sunday is coming up next Sunday. So I want you all to know that that's a church-wide event. We're going to be providing chicken fingers, green beans, and mac and cheese, just as like a fellowship meal opportunity to come around and you can hang out and talk to everybody with the seniors. We'll have dessert, and then following that, we're going to have a senior program where we're going to kind of let the parents talk about them and where they're going and what they're doing after they graduate. So we'd love for you to be there. There's going to be baskets for cards, gifts, etc., that you can bring for all the seniors. And in the bulletin, there's the information again. And I'll send that email out in the coming days. Also, don't forget that Nate has a tool party, and he needs all the tools that you can bring him to fix his house.
Saying to you, God is still in the same place. He's still the same God. He's still doing the same things. And so if you find that there has been some distance that has grown, in your relationship with God, you should ask yourself, what have I done, or what do I need to do? Because God is still sitting on his throne. He's still available to me. He still wants to have a close relationship with me. And if I'm not as close to him as I used to be, there's probably something that I need to do, something that I need to consider. In the book of Romans, in the first chapter, second chapter, third chapter, Paul is explaining how people become separated from God. He explains this pretty explicitly in the first chapter, where he says several times, he says 3 times there in Romans chapter 1, invite the encouragement and help of the church. We're going to stand in just a moment here. We're going to sing a song together. This is to encourage people who want to make sure they're walking in close communion with God. Is to encourage people to come forward and get the help and encouragement they need so they can do that. If you're not a Christian, we encourage you, don't leave the building without being a Christian. Jesus died for you. Accept the sacrifice that he's made. If you are a Christian and you know you haven't been living as you should, hey, don't walk out of this building knowing you're not right. Come on forward. Let us pray with you. Let us help you. It'd be our privilege to do that. If we can help you, please come and let us know how we can as we stand and sing this song of invitation.
When we walk